Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jenny will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I'm your host, your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger, helping you whip your business into shape. And today I have with me Karen Sammer. Now, Karen is a national board certified health and wellness coach. She helps people who are pre-diabetic and overweight, but overwhelmed by their cravings. She teaches them how to overcome those cravings, lose the weight, and avoid a lifetime of diabetes medications using the same method she used to overcome her cravings. And when she lost 135 pounds and reversed her own pre-diabetes. Karen, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure, Jenny. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh my gosh. I love having these kinds of conversations because, my audience really is a group of mostly moms. Like, we do have some dads who listen, of course, and health is a really important piece of this. And, because if you don't take care of yourself, your business and everything else doesn't really matter. So how did you get into the health coaching profession and this? Tell us the story of losing your 135 pounds.
So this was back in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas Eve 2009, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, an aggressive form of breast cancer. And I also happened to be pre-diabetic at the same time. I was very overweight. I was in a very stressful job. I was raising 2 teenage girls, had a house, a family, a job, all of those things that were keeping me away from taking care of me. And then I get this diagnosis and I decided to take my health into my own hands. So I did go through conventional treatment, but then I also wanted to make sure that I could mitigate my risk of recurrence and also to reverse any other conditions that were going on, in this case, prediabetes.
Yeah.
So I lost 135 pounds and developed the program that I use now for the people that I work with, my clients, because the first thing I did was I was able to reverse the cravings. I was completely able to eliminate the cravings that I had. And then once that happened, the weight loss was almost effortless.
Oh, wow.
Completely effortless, but almost effortless. And I was able to get my health in order, eliminate all kinds of things like my pre-diabetic condition, like my risk. I was able to minimize my risk of recurrence of this very aggressive form of breast cancer. And also to get rid of all the aches and pains that I had in my joints and regain my energy, sleep better, all the things that come along with having a healthy body that you don't even realize you miss until they're gone, until you get them back. Because it's very gradual, that process of kind of going down that rabbit hole of not being healthy. It's kind of a gradual thing and it becomes a way of life until you reverse it and you realize, boy, I was really feeling pretty crummy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So I didn't. And it's been amazing. And that was 13 years ago, because then that happened throughout 2010. 135 pounds doesn't come off overnight.
Well, it didn't show up overnight either, though.
Right. Yeah. Although I can tell you, I can put it on a lot faster than I can take it off.
And I think that's true for a lot of us.
yeah, for sure. But also, during that time, I was already, kind of in the throes of menopause, and I did not have the menopausal symptoms to the extent that I had prior to having kind of changed my ways. And I was waking up, part of my pre-weight loss scenario was that I would wake up in the night with hot night sweats and palpitations. And of course, the weight of the world was on my shoulders at that moment. And, 3:00 in the morning, every problem you ever had comes knocking on your brain.
Yeah.
And they all want your attention. So
Yeah.
once I kind of went through the process of getting healthy and being able to sleep through the night without the night sweats and without all those symptoms, it was incredible.
I can imagine. So as you were going through the journey of going from where you were having, these health conditions and to getting to the place of being healthy once again, right? It sounds like you went through the cancer treatments and everything like that, while also trying to treat your own other health conditions that were being brought on by what it sounds like it was the excess weight. What were some of the big obstacles that were slowing you down or held you back on that journey?
Well, so throughout the entire year of 2010, I was undergoing conventional cancer treatment. Because of the type of cancer it required me to go through infusions for the entire year.
Okay.
So I never felt 100% during that time because you're putting all this poison in your body. And I had the side effects. So, I lost my hair. I lost fingernails, toenail. It was all kinds of stuff that went on. And it's also the gift that keeps on giving. There are certain things that just have not gone back to where they were before.
Right.
But so the energy, the lack of energy that you get when you're going through treatments, chemo and radiation, I would have to, when I was going through radiation, I took 6 months off from work, from my day job. And because I was so sick from the chemo. But then once I ended the chemo and I started radiation and went back to work, and I would have to leave work every day in the afternoon to go and get radiation treatments. Well, some days I was so exhausted because that really does sap your energy. Was so exhausted, I'd have to pull over on the way home just to take a little nap so I could get home.
Wow.
So just not having the energy to get through your day to day was challenging for me. And when I was going through the treatment, I was very shaky on my feet, so I couldn't really walk anywhere. It was my sleep was all disrupted, so I was up all night, and then I'd sleep little cat naps during the day, and so those things made it challenging. But on the other side of that, because of all the treatment and one of the side effects of chemo is this horrible metallic taste in your mouth. I didn't want to eat. So I did lose, I lost weight during the chemo, but it was really after the chemo was done and I started on the road to recovery from that. That's when I really started to lose the weight because I was able to choose foods that were going to be healthy for me and not just eat something that I could stomach. The availability of better food selections for my taste buds was just much bigger when I started to recover. So, but there were, it was a challenge. It was, and a lot of it was energy driven. A lot of it was because I didn't have the energy to just get through my day to day. It was not.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine that many of the Badass crew can identify with this being, parents, and many of them are working a full or part-time job in addition to being a parent. And then they also have their direct sales or network marketing business in addition to all of that. So a lot of energy is needed to do all of those kinds of things. And here you were just trying to get through working a regular job and being a mom,
Trying to get through my day.
Yeah,
exactly.
Trying to get through your day. So as you got through this process, what made you go from being somebody who was just fixing your own health to deciding to become a certified health and wellness coach?
So when I had all kinds of time on my hands because I couldn't do much, I was doing a lot of research to figure out how I could mitigate my risk of recurrence. And one of the overriding things that I found, the research that I was doing, is that sugar encourages cancer to grow in your body. Sugar is, especially processed sugar, really does get cancer going, on a rampage.
Right.
So one of the very first things I did was eliminated all processed sugar and things that convert to sugar very quickly, like refined carbohydrates. And the more I did this and the more I kind of dug in, the more I realized I really want to do this stuff. If you had told me when I was in high school that I was going to be interested in nutrition, I would have told you were out of your It was the farthest thing from anything that I would have done. But the more I learned about it, the more interesting it became to me. And the more I realized the food I ate had a direct impact on the way I felt. And I probably knew that on some level, but it never really, I never felt like it was going to be meaningful until this happened. And it became very meaningful in my life. And so I decided to find a course that I could take in order to kind of take that path for other people, help other people on that path. And I became a holistic health coach. And then I became a certified nutritional consultant because I just kept going. I love this stuff. I could just be a student of this stuff all day long.
Right.
And then last December, I became a board certified health and wellness coach. So that really just kind of differentiated me from people that, call themselves a health coach because they sell a product, which is kind of disturbing to me because you really do need to be trained in order to be able to help people and give them, have the education to support them the way they need to be supported. So that's really why that was the path that I took. But, my prior career, I retired from 5.5 years ago. And I was a director of federal audits in a global pharmaceutical company. I was in the tax department. And so I was defending against the IRS, which was it was a fun job. But like I said, I retired 5.5 years ago to do this full time. And this is what I was put on this planet to do. It took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up, but I got there. But
I think many of us feel the same way, right? Many of us who get into entrepreneurship are like, oh, this is what I was supposed to do, because so many of us, and well-meaning, our families and, the public in general, schools and everything, prepare us for a job, right? This is the way the world is you're going to get a job, and because that's the way most people go, right? And so to switch over to the entrepreneurship piece, so let's get into the business of doing business for you. What have been some of the obstacles you've been dealing with in running a business of being a coach?
Well, I've heard this over and over again, and it's so true. The best part about being in business for yourself is that you're your own boss. And the worst part about being in business for yourself is that you're your own boss. Yeah. I'm a lousy employee. I'm a lousy boss. I'm a lousy employee. But I think it's systematizing my work, what I want to do. But also what I love what I do, and I love to talk about it to people, but I think that selling is kind of challenging for me. Being able to sell what I do, and because I don't like to be sold to, and I don't like to sell to people.
Right.
I just want them all to knock on my door and say, I can't live without you. And that's what I want them to do.
Well, then, Karen, I might have an introduction for you after the end of this interview, because I know someone who can help you with that. It's not me, but no, honestly, you're not alone in that, right? That's part of the reason that I'm in business as a sales coach is I've got so many people who have that same issue of, I have this passion, I want to do this thing, but I don't know how to sell, right? Or I don't know how to sell comfortably or naturally, right? And so that's the difficulty that, you're not alone. There's many others who have that. So as you have been working this business now, you said you retired 5.5 years ago from this. What have been some of the most amazing stories, some of your client transformations? And you can keep client information private. That's totally fine. But what are some of what's your favorite client health journey story that you love to share?
One of my clients, I love this question, but one of my clients had a profound change in his life. So typically I work with women, but I do work with, I work very successfully with men. Mm-hmm. And this particular person he was in a pretty stressful job. He had a family that he was supporting, and he was in his maybe late 40s, early 50s. And he had high blood pressure, and he was diabetic, full-on diabetic. And both of those conditions were out of control on medication. So he often would be sent home from work because one of those numbers was out of control and causing him to be unhealthy, and they needed him, he was a liability at that point. So they sent him home from work until he could get things straightened out. He and I worked together. Well, we started working together about 4 months into it. He went back to the doctor, and the doctor told him his numbers had never looked that good before. And he was able to reduce his medication. So not only did he get his conditions under control, but he was able to reduce his medications. And then we worked towards getting him off the medication. And we didn't quite get there, but he was, bringing his numbers or his medication doses down. And that to me was so gratifying because he would sing my praises from the highest mountaintop because he was feeling better. He wasn't having those sugar dips and, highs and
Spikes.
lows and just
Yeah.
types of things. Yeah. He was feeling very even when it came to that. And that was an incredible thing for him. And then to be able to completely control his issues and also to bring down that medication the doses of his medication was just, I felt like this is what I'm here for. This is what I want to do. I want to make these profound changes or help these people make these profound changes in their own lives and help them to empower themselves to do what they have to do to get themselves in better health. And clearly this is an example of this stuff works when you work it.
Right. Absolutely. So just so you know, that story you just told, there you go. Tell that story and selling becomes so much easier because that's when people start knocking down your door, right?
Yeah.
It's sharing of those stories of success that you've had, right? And then people who either have those same conditions or want the outcome, regardless if they have the same, things, that helps them begin to shift and go, oh, well, Karen could help me do that. Maybe Karen could help me do that, right? Because that's what we as coaches get to do is work with people who go, oh, I want that outcome.
Yeah.
Right. I want that. That's what I want to happen for me, right?
I want that result. Exactly. Yeah.
And so what are some of the ways that because, thanks to that wonderful pandemic that happened to us a few years ago, and I say that slightly tongue in cheek, because it did cause some advances in business. It did also cause some of us to have to jump back in business in different ways, or take a step back, I should say. What are some of the ways that you are building your business, building your network? How are you getting out there so that you have places where you can share your story?
Well, I do a lot of speaking. So I just came back from California. I spoke at a conference, holistic lifestyle, and it's called the Holistic Conference and the Holistic Lifestyle Conference and Expo.
Okay.
It was in Los Angeles, so I was able to speak there, and I've done other speaking gigs as well. So I also go to a lot of networking meetings. Okay. Zoom has been really wonderful because I very rarely will I meet a client in person. Right. I usually sometimes I'll do over the phone. I prefer to do Zoom just so I can see their faces.
Yeah,
and then that way I know what we're talking about lands with them or doesn't land with them, and we go in a different way. But it is, I feel like it opened up the world for me. And the pandemic, I know the lockdown was challenging for a lot of people, but I was really able to meet a lot more people through, that time because we didn't go out. So I was able to do all kinds of networking and get my message out.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think, and what I want to point out to the listener is the importance of networking, right? Because the more people who know who you are, who know what you do, the more likely you are to succeed, right? Because, really word of mouth marketing is one of the best ways to get your business out there, right? And the people who are listening, a vast majority of my listeners are in direct sales, network marketing, and MLM companies. And so helping them to begin to understand like the importance of having a network because you're out there networking. People ask, how have I become so successful in my business and with my podcast? Because I network like it's my job, because guess what? It is.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's because it's not necessarily who you know, it's who they know. It's who you know, who the people that you know. Right. So you have to expand your network as much as you can. And the more people can talk about you, the better off you are.
Exactly.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. So that's a really important piece for people. And I just wanted to point that out because Karen and I actually met because of networking. She was out networking. Someone heard her story and said, you need to meet my friend Jenny. You can get on her podcast, right? So networking worked because now you're getting to share your story, share what's going on and what you can do with and for people by way of getting on the show and in front of my audience and et cetera. So Karen, speaking to that and how you can help my audience if they've been listening and going, ooh, I feel like I was given this episode for a reason. Right? This is what I'm hearing right now because I'm supposed to be hearing this. You have a really generous offer for the Badass Crew if they're interested in learning more. What is your offer for the Badass Crew?
So I would like to offer them a free consultation. It's a full hour. where we talk about their specific, unique health challenges. And I tell them how I can help them. If they choose to work with me, great. If not, that's fine too. They will walk away with some action steps so that they will, regardless of whether we continue to work together or not, they will have some action steps to take in order to get themselves on a healthy path.
Oh, that is awesome. Guys, most coaches I know only offer 30 minutes. So the fact that she's gifting you an hour, you'd be crazy not to take it. If you are somebody who is already, hearing from your doctor, you might be pre-diabetic, or, you're listening to the energy challenges and going, man, that sounds a lot like me. I'd like to have all the energy I need to get through the day. Then take Karen up on this offer right here. So the way people can reach out to get this offer is by booking through your calendar link. So how can they get to your calendar link?
So they can go to, it's a long one. It's www.yourpoweryourhealth.com/book. And that will get you right to my calendar link. Fill out the questionnaire, because that will inform the conversation. That will help me to help you the best way I can. And it's really, there is no, we just talked about my difficulty selling. So there's not going to be a hard push here. It is really just to help people and to make sure that they get what they need to get them on the right path.
I love that, because I do the same kind of thing. I offer a complimentary coaching session, right? Because I think it's really important for a coach and a client to connect, right? I don't want to sell to a bunch of people that I don't know. I don't want to, I would like to know who I'm going to be working with and really feel like, based on the conversation that I'm having, that I'm the best person for them, right? Based on what they're saying they need, right? So, and it sounds like you're offering the same. So that's fantastic. So in case you wanted the link again, it's yourpoweryourhealth.com/book. And we also will have the link in the show notes. Now, if this is your first time listening to the show and you're like, show notes, what are those? Click on today's episode, assuming you're listening on your phone and that you're not driving. When you click on today's episode, scroll under Karen's picture and you will see a little synopsis of today's episode. Scroll below that and you'll see the link there. We'll make sure we have that nice and bold so that way you can see how to book your complimentary session with Karen. So that way you can have a conversation and figure out some action steps to move forward. Or if you decide that moving forward with her is your best option, go for it too, because I want what's best for you. And I'm not a health coach. I'm not going to be able to help you with that. Frankly, it's not my area of expertise. So, Karen, this has been so awesome, because I know that, health is one of the areas in which my audience needs help with. I'm not their person. You just might be. So thank you for being here and sharing your story and what you can do to help other people. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Jenny. I really appreciate the time.
Absolutely. And Badass Crew, one more thing before we go, Karen. How would you like, if people don't want to book a session, but maybe they have a single question for you, they want to reach out and where they can see more from you, where can they connect with you?
They can email me at Karen@yourpoweryourhealth.com.
All right. So
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Fantastic. And that's Karen, the traditional spelling, Karen, at yourpoweryourhealth.com. Thank you again, Karen. I so appreciate you. And Badass Crew, you know how this goes. Stay tuned, because there's another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.